What's going on, everyone? Conservative Video Dipper here. If you've got a dip, pack a freaking lip. So, today what we're going to do is a reaction to conservativenewswave.com's first radio show. Now, how are you able to listen to these shows? Well, I will tell you. You can listen to them by going also to conservativenewswave.com or go to these different news or these different podcast host places where they host podcasts and stuff like iHeart, Spotify, Podcast Addict, Listen Notes, Acast, Deezers. And when I hear Deezers, it kind of reminds me or makes me think of not like these are nuts, but like old timer like Tim, a boomer, a geezer. Oh, that's not what it means. Yeah, okay. Anyway, but Pocket Cast as well. Go on to and listen on those 7 platforms that we are now located on. And also, again, if you all haven't noticed, we here on Conservative Video Dippers channel, we have Google AI that has a summary about us, which I think is also really, really freaking cool. I'm happy that we got an AI summary about us. I think that's pretty cool. So let's go to conservativenewswave.com. And by the way, Conservative Newswave does also have an AI review or kind of thereof of it, or an AI overview. So here's the AI overview for conservativenewswave.com. Conservative New Wave is a digital media outlet news site that publishes political news, commentary, and analyzes from a right-leaning conservative perspective. That is very true. They did get that correct. So here's what they have for overview and content. Focus, national politics, policies, updates, and cultural commentary. That is true. Format features breaking headlines, current reports, and opinion pieces aligned with conservative values. That is also very true. Personal associated contributors and reports such as Tim and Conservative Video Dipper. So that's pretty good. So I like that over review. That's pretty good. That's really, really good. So let's see what we got today. If the freaking website decides to work. Apparently it's running very slow today. So I might have to go to one of those yikes. I hope it works because I'm really excited to let you guys hear the podcast. Well, while it's loading and warming up, let's just throw in a dip here, I guess, at this point, because the website's going to be slow as shit. Probably more than likely people are watching it right now. I suspect there's a lot of people on it right now. Cheers. Let's see. What is up, Tim Winkler? How you doing, buddy? How are you doing, Tim? Thank you for joining, Tim. Oh, that's a shame. It's not letting me. Oh, you stinker. You're being a little stinker poo. It just really is slow right now. All right. Well, I guess It's not letting us do that. Weird. Yeah, it's been a while, man. Been a hell of a minute. All right, guys, I am so sorry. Conservative New Wave right now apparently is not wanting to work right now. That sucks. But yeah, it's been a minute, buddy. Anyway, I guess we could just talk a little bit about it. So, conservativenewswave.com, we finally put up our first show that me and Tim did. And the crew at conservativenewswave.com finally got done putting together. It took a lot of editing because the biggest part of why we did a lot of editing was we kind of had to, I guess I could put this linguistically, legally dance around certain topics that could have possibly put us in some legality issues. So that is why we did more editing than usual because not only that, but being on 7 platforms right now means we got to keep it clean. We got to make sure that all of our podcasts and all of our shows are up to par with rules, regulations on all of the platforms that we are going to be on. And I know that sounds very difficult, and you're probably asking me, conservative, is it very difficult to do stuff like that? Yes, because jumping and dancing around and trying to make sure that you're not going to get into any trouble with any platforms or people that you may be talking about definitely is a little bit difficult sometimes because you want to make sure that you know exactly where to cut it off at and where you can bring in the next part. So editing it does take a little bit of time. Well, I can't find it. Well, shucks. Gee whiz. Oh, it sucks. But anyway, it takes a little bit of time, but that's a process in itself that I wouldn't say is fun, but it's interesting because knowing about that process and how things like that go, um, it's very interesting. It does remind me of back like when I was doing my shows on 24, 25 platforms, and we really had to edit that stuff. It was like bleeps, or we cut out a segment because of certain reasons. But it's the process altogether. Yes, it's hard, difficult, but the fun part of it all is getting to see the reaction of all of you and what you all think of it. And next week, I think either Tuesday or Wednesday, we are going to be doing a show again. So go to conservativenewswave.com, keep tabs on there. Um, I'll see if Tim can put down times for us of when we're going to do the show so that if y'all decide you want to call in, join the conversation as well, because that's what our show is really about. It's about conversational topics of politics. We want you to be part of it. And that's why we have that phone line for it. Um, it it's really simple. We'll give you the phone number before we start. We'll always say the number. I'll have Tim put it on the website so that you guys can actually see it. Well, Fine. It doesn't want to work today, apparently. That's fine. I can do it another way. That is just perfectly peachy. So I'll have Tim make sure that he puts the number down for you guys and that you guys are able to call in if you choose to. Now, I think, honestly, in my opinion, Tim did a very good job. But let's take a look and see. There we go. You can also go to Video Challenge USA's Rumble and listen on there. Oh, everybody does. And we would love to hear from you, Tim. I think that would honestly be really cool if you called in. It'd be great to hear from you. All right. I'm going to turn down the ad because we don't want stupid ads. But here we go with the show. This is our intro, by the way. Now, if you're all wondering, the intro was AI created, by the way. And no, Tim is not an AI. He's a real human being. But Tim did the intro and outro to this show. So good job on Tim for that. I like that. That's really good. And you can also ask me questions on here too, dude. If any of you have questions. Oh, maybe that's not the show. It's just showing 7 platforms. Okay. Here's the show. What if the meter on your house? So we are on 7 platforms, which I think it's a good start, honestly. It's better than nothing. Good intro. What do you guys think of this intro? I would like to be, I'm kind of curious. I would like to know, what do you guys really think of this intro? Do you guys like this intro? Hey, KY, what's up, buddy? Do you guys think maybe we should do a different intro? What do you guys think? I think the intro is pretty dang cool. Like I said.
What's going on, everyone? Conservative Video Dipper here, as always.
That's your boy.
With Tim in the background.
Thank you. Tim will start talking here in a little bit. You will hear Tim again.
Running our maintenance group. Thank you, Tim, for everything. We do want to appreciate Tim here and give Tim...
I mean, I should have said we don't want to appreciate, but we want to thank Tim. I should have said something different. Probably not. Probably more likely I'm not going to. Because
the acknowledgement.
I just think all of that attention that she's getting isn't really needed.
First and foremost, Fox News reports Trump says Strait of Hormuz deals could come Wednesday as gas prices stay high 31 minutes ago. Yikes.
I don't know why I said yikes.
I want to know on what you thought about the Strait of Hormuz deal.
They were basically dancing
There's
around.
Tim.
I mean, it's
There's Tim.
like what?
Dancing around. Tim, you could be a little more linguistic than just say dancing around. But you did get Tim.
One day the Strait of Hormuz is going to be open, another day it's going to be closed. It's just kind of weird.
NBC is now reporting live updates. Progressive.
Now, what you're hearing basically is the edits of how close they are. They are really tight edited together. So this is what you are hearing is the final edit of the show.
Progressive score more primary wins. Trump suggests Iran deal is coming soon.
He
So
was.
obviously the Democrats are leaving their Democratic
He was.
ideology and becoming a little bit more progressive. Interesting.
CBS News is
Oh, wait. I said something that was very, very interesting. The Democrats were becoming very progressive. Have you guys noticed that lately? Have you all noticed that the Democrats are becoming more progressive than Democratic? Interesting to see that they're changing ways a little bit. But I kind of had a feeling that they were always going to change.
reporting it would be going as soon as today at mid.
Oh, Tim, you need to fix your phone or your mic or whatever. You were gargly there, dude.
Talk, and that was about 40 some minutes ago. And President Trump told reporters a lot of progress
It's really staticky. I don't like that.
has been made. I don't know. You look at some of the things going on, for example, at conservativenewswave.com.
You're right, Tim. They are getting more and more ridiculous.
And before I even do that, we really should get into a housekeeping.
Tim, you could use a different word, like let's do some we should do some shout outs or something like that. I mean, come on, Tim. Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Mode if you want to call in the show. And this is basically what they call a shakedown cruise. Give us a call at 605-562-0444. That's 605-562-0444. Show ID is...
And I don't know if that number will be the same as our next show or will change, but we will let you know.
644-0258. So 644-0258. And once you get in, if you want to join or anything like that, all you have to do is, I think it's *2. So access code to get into the show ID 644-0258. We're talking about Hormuz, the Iran war. It's still going on right now. We gotta give some kudos to what you've been doing.
No, this is a show that we just got done doing. We will have another one next Wednesday, though. No, Tim is not a record nor an AI, but he is a real person. We do appreciate your feedback, y'all.
Been doing, I think, has been important work at YouTube. You have Conservative Video Dipper, your main channel.
Yeah, Tim does kind of sound not really enthused like I do. He just sounds kind of dull, dummied down, which normally this is what you expect from Tim because he hasn't done this in a long time. A lot of these shows normally are done by me, and Tim just does being the producer, the editor, and the one that tells me, hey, We're, we got like a certain amount of minutes here left. So Tim does sound a little kind of,
What are the other channels you have? And
I do agree he could do better.
So I have Rumble, which is another platform that is where I post some of my conservative videos.
Yes, go check out my Rumble channel too, you guys. I do some stuff on Rumble as well. Not very often.
And Twitter and TikTok, where I do pretty much the same thing. A lot of those platforms realm around conservatism, conservative news, basically about news and what's going on day to day. Yeah, the YouTube one, I do a lot of videos, whether it's about, sometimes I do editing videos, I do dip tobacco talk, I do talk a lot about politics on that one.
Then you've got a lot of comedy in there too.
Yeah.
Yes, I do have a lot of comedy, and Tim was right. Tim literally nailed it perfect. Our producer, Tim Phillips, nailed it perfectly. He literally mentioned something. I do comedy with my conservative shows like this, but sometimes I'm serious. So I don't know if he forgot about that or just wasn't thinking about it. But
yes,
it can be both.
I do. I try to put comedy in there, but some people are just, you can't win the crowd always. Sometimes you gotta deal with the rough crowd.
Well, you also have some of your videos on my Rumble channel, which is not just my Rumble channel, but it's a channel called Video Challenge USA, which are production partners.
Go check out his Rumble, Video Challenge USA.
I'm one of them, is up there, and they do a lot of video work for us. In fact, what they've been doing is kind of cool for conservativenewswave.com. They've been restoring a TV series from the 1950s called I Led 3 Lives. This guy who...
All right. So, in my honest opinion, it's great that Tim is talking about this stuff, because not only does Tim do political stuff, but he does editing for videos that are like public domain videos, and he puts it back together, making it nice, clean cut. Go watch some of his stuff. You'll see what he does. Tim does really good work with editing. A little bit better than I do, but he's done it longer than I have.
Guy who's an advertising executive, a communist, and an FBI informant. Go figure. We also have...
Wait, Tim, how can a guy be a communist and an FBI informant? That's a little strange.
Public service announcements on there. This month we've featuring the How Not to Be Hacked. A lot of crazy things, and we put yours in occasionally, and we put AI stuff, and Chuck Schumer has been in there, Straight for Moose, Mark Warner, OpenAI, and their little fighting on one of your favorite people you really appreciate, Tony Fauci, RFK, Mike Pence, and so on. But that's pretty much what we've got. And what we're going to do is edit this episode and hopefully bring in some unifying theme and so on, and go from there. Conservative Video Dipper, back to you.
Speaking of accidents, Trump's Marine One flight under investigation after potential safety mishap.
Now, that did happen, and I was reading while I was doing the show. I was reading some news articles that were out, and one of those was an article about that. So that's a little bit frightening.
Mishaps, and even the New York Times 2 hours ago posted it. So that's very interesting to see a helicopter that Trump uses, or the president's use.
Same thing.
lot of trouble. I mean, that's right. That is a lot of trouble. And that's not good. So,
I mean, some of the article is like helicopter carrying Trump flies near passenger jet in Washington airspace. He's not having a good day.
Also, going back to
I mean, Tim, when is Trump having a good day? Because it seems like anytime the media tries to go at him, he's not having a good day. Or when the socialists, Democrats try to go at him, he's not having a good day. It seems like Trump just has a hard day every day. I illiterate. I mean, he's having a rough day, I should say. Never mind.
helicopter, the FAA is probing safety incident involving Trump's helicopter passenger jet, which is interesting. So it sounds like the FAA is having a full day. Yay.
Now, I don't know why I said that in that direct way. I was being a little sarcastic. But normally when the FAA gets involved in stuff, you know it's not good. There's going to be a lot of things going on. And the FAA normally are people that you don't really want to play with. They are down to business, straight up type people.
No pun intended with all of those not facetious, but those remarks.
Oh yeah, it gets worse. CNN 15 hours ago, passenger plane taking off got too close to Trump's Marine One helicopter, and I think this was NTSB, which is National Transportation Safety Board, and the FAA to investigate. I don't know, call me stupid, too late, but it's a no-fly zone for several miles around.
Tim, we wouldn't call you stupid. We would just say that maybe you're making a smart call. You're making a journalistic judgment. I wouldn't call it stupid. I would say that's just your opinion. And you as a journalist, you and I both as a journalist, know. So, good point, Tim. But don't put yourself down, Tim.
Around whenever you have Air Force One or Marine One around any airport, I don't get it how you could let that type of thing happen. This is embarrassing. According to CNN, American Airlines Flight 3742, an E-170 regional jet operated by Envoy Airlines.
I do honestly think that Tim could pick up a little bit. He's kind of sounds like he's down in the dumps. He's a little nervous, which we all know, again, why Tim would be nervous. It's his first time in a long time doing this kind of stuff. So, obviously, Tim, being Tim, is going to have a little bit of a nervous habits and tics in the beginning. But I think next week he will get it out of him.
Airlines bound for Pensacola took off from Reagan Airport. Envoy is a wholly owned subsidiary of American Airlines.
Pensacola, Florida,
and
right?
Of course, everybody's been reaching out for comment, but nobody's really gotten much anything yet. Except
Tim, you should have clarified where it was at. Sure, Pensacola. Yeah, it tells us where it was, but like directly, was it Pensacola, Florida? Which I think is exactly where he meant it was.
Except, like you said, the FAA going WTF.
Well, speaking of WTF,
I don't know why Tim did it or said it, but that was good.
Yesterday, there was reports that China is allegedly trying to silence people and their opposition against the CCP. Now, for all of you wondering, what is the CCP? It sounds like a radio station. No, we regret to inform you, CCP is not a radio station, but a abbreviation for Chinese Communist Party, which is Chinese Democratic Socialist, I guess you could say. And that,
which is true. CCP does stand for Chinese Communist Party. Not Chinese, pardon me, Communist Party.
that's very interesting because...
And some people don't know what CCP stands for, the abbreviation. If they hear the whole thing, they'll probably know exactly what it is. But some people don't know the abbreviation. So that was very good that I clarified it for people to understand better. I think a lot of people do understand what CCP really is, but for some people who didn't, I had to make it very clear and obvious what the abbreviation stood for.
Also, U.S.-China tech fight escalates before Trump's Xi Jinping meeting, and I'm kind of wondering maybe if Xi Jinping is getting a little worried about his deals over there. Maybe he's shaking in his little bowl of noodles. Nope.
Now, what we did have to cut out was the part where I went because of reasons, because we didn't want to sound racy either. But I did do that. And yes, I did make the reference to bowl of noodles and Chinese people, which can still sound a little racy, but it's not racy. There was no racy intention into it. It was just humor.
No pun intended.
Oh, gee, how stereotypical. But I see what you're getting at. I mean, it's like the problem.
Good job, Tim, for catching that, by the way.
Right now with China is, and we talked about this off air, is kind of twofold. You've got chips, according to courts, in cars. Reuters also touched on this. And Reuters was saying that Chinese connected car software is being phased out, being prohibited, whatever you want to call it. Courts, on the other hand, was saying instead the panel passes Chinese automaker ban bill that could affect, and it is worse because here's why we're banning related chips.
I'm 80 years old.
Sorry, we have advertisement.
Those that come from China, according.
And that is true. There are chips that are allegedly coming from China, which we kind of know why they're doing it. But we'll get into that in a sec. But let's see what you guys think. Why do you think China's doing it?
According to Forbes, that Hugging Face company that's out of China.
Hugging Face. Tim, could be a little more, again, linguistic.
That breach with their AI having robot interfacing with other AI cyber attack. Forbes said specifically discussed that. PC Gamer said it took a week for OpenAI to realize what was going on, that their prototype had gone rogue and hacked another company. That was for 4 days. Politico also brought up that point. And so even though you've got, according to Quartz, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman saying, we're in the singularity, whatever that means, I guess that's beyond speculative and existential worst-case scenario.
Nice big boy words there, Tim. Very good on using big boy words. But maybe dummy it down a little so that people can understand what you're saying. But that was good. Tim did very good on that.
The AI hack, yeah, it sounds really nicer when he said it. But now you've got this guy from Congress, Mark Warner, a Democrat who's actually thinking more like a Republican from Virginia, ranking member. So, yeah.
It is. It's very surprising to see a Democrat turning around and allegedly thinking more like a Republican. You don't see that very often. Maybe that congressman is starting to see things a little bit differently. Maybe he might be changing his party if he gets to run again. He might switch into the Republican Party. Who knows? Whoever knows. That would be very interesting. But like we said, you don't see that very often. And when you do, more than likely, that's probably because that person is not only starting to see what the Democrats are doing, but they're starting to disagree a lot with the Democratic ideologies, and they're starting to see how extreme the Democrats are becoming. So that's not what they're into. And maybe that congressman may stay Democratic, but he's not going into the progressive, Democratic progressive ideologies. He's just like, yeah, no, this isn't going to work.
Ranking member of the Senate Intelligence Committee rolled out a comprehensive list of AI agenda to try to keep people safe, even though right now, and this was cool. According to Yahoo Tech, the Trump administration is banning Chinese humanoid robots. I just thought that was really kind of cool, of course.
I think, in my opinion, it is kind of a good idea to ban Chinese AI robots for many reasons. One being that I did want to cut into it, but I kind of didn't want to cut in and interrupt him on this. So this is kind of a sidebar thought here. For many reasons, I think that we should not have Chinese AI robots. One, the Chinese, we don't know if they're allegedly connected to the government, and the government could allegedly use those AI alleged bots to spy on us, to just do what they want or impose the alleged government will upon us. So I don't think it's a great idea to have that. But some people might say it might not be too bad in the beginning. But even if it's not too bad in the beginning, how do we know if it's going to get worse or not worse? We don't know. So I wouldn't trust it right out of the rip anyways, because China, we know what China is capable of doing. We know what our alleged government's capable of doing. It's not a good sign if you have those two put together.
Of course, there's debate, according to Fox News, whether the Minnesota cyber attack is corrupt political foes or not.
I wondered that too. And that was another thing I was kind of thinking in my back of my head, but I didn't want to interrupt him again. Maybe it was for a particular reason, that it could be our alleged government doing things, using AI against people, because this is why people are really, some people, afraid of AI, because they know that AI can get out of control. It can happen to be controlled. And if it allegedly does get hacked and controlled by somebody, who do we know is going to do it and what their intentions are with it? We don't know. So that's why you see a lot of people talking about, I don't want AI, I hate AI. And this is why you hear me kind of talking against AI, because I don't trust AI. I don't trust our government with it. I don't trust even China giving it to us. They're just handing it to us. And basically our government saying, oh, thank you, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Now we have control, and now we can see things that basically impede into our constitutional right of privacy in our own homes or whatever. And we don't want that. So that's why you do hear a lot of people going against AI, and especially me.
It could be, but what do you think about the AI thing? Should we be that crazy? Maybe that overreacting and yank out of the line of trade robots from China?
Now listen to my answer. It may sound like I ramble, but it's a very good reason that I think I give.
Out of the line of trade from China, even if they're just having some parts put in, or do you think that's maybe overreach? What do you think?
I think, honestly, if there are AI problems, and especially nowadays, we have electric cars that do have cameras inoperable or they're not running or mobile, they can still record. Just like cameras or just anything, your smart TVs, they can still be hacked and used against you. Just like the doorbell ring system can be used against you. It's just another way that basically China is handing them the golden ticket and saying, here you go. Here's more ways that you can possibly or potentially violate U.S. citizens' rights without them knowing. But we will just pretend that it's for a good cause, you know. We won't make it sound or seem allegedly suspicious at all, but we want to just be able to give you this. And it's kind of like China right now is the government's golden child. China has definitely an advance in technology for sure. And that's one thing I will give them the upper hand for. But don't make no mistake. And don't think that China's nobody's fool. They aren't stupid. They know exactly what is going on, and they're aware of it. And it's kind of like, to me, you think about the AI stuff going on with the same thing with Anthony Fauci with the alleged COVID thing. Could there be a connection? And we'll get into that here in a sec, folks. But could there be?
And that's a real good question. People have actually asked us about that. Is Fauci somehow alleged to be connected with the Wuhan lab, China, COVID, and all of this? That's a good question. Now, I do have my suspicions that, yes, I think he is allegedly involved. But you will hear me more into this talking about it and how I think that it is possible that there is more than just a connection, that Fauci may not, if not connected all the way, possibly be a guinea pig for this. Who knows? But listen, we'll get into it in the show. You'll hear me talk more about it, but I do have really, really deep, sneaking suspicion that something's going on, and has always been going on with Fauci.
There be a connection, sure. But now let's go into exactly what I was going to talk about. Fox News, 4 hours ago, Fauci slapped with a subpoena as COVID doc probed for profiting off federal funds.
Now, Dr. Fauci is now being charged with contempt in court, by the way. So now he's being slapped with contempt of court. That's not good. So obviously the DOJ got tired of Fauci just sitting there pleading the fifth 111 times. They want answers. And so he got slapped with that contempt of court. So that's going to be interesting to see what actually does now happen with Fauci as time goes on.
I guess.
We talked about that last night. There were, and I'm going to dance around it legally a little bit, there were allegations.
Why does Tim have to dance around it, or why do we have to dance around it legally? Because for many reasons, one being that it's still an ongoing case. There's an ongoing investigation, so we don't have all of the reports quite yet to make that judgment call. The second is because we don't want to say things that are misleading or misconstruing or facetious with malicious intent or infactual. We want to give you guys the truth, but we have to be careful with what we say, because knowing that Fauci is a public figure still, and yes, he is being slapped with contempt of court, he possibly still could do damage to us. He could possibly sue us if we said something that he didn't like or found that was not nice in his towards him or something that he feels like it hurt his feelings. So that's why you got to be careful.
Allegations and or report that as one of the leading investigators and administrators for the National Institute of Allergy and I forget the acronym you told me last night that Fauci had signed off on the contract. Yeah.
NIAID. Come on, Tim. You're a journalist. You should know what it means. I literally had to do it for you. You can't always rely on your young damn talent to do everything for you, Tim. Jeez.
Yeah.
Right.
Come on, Boomer.
NIAH, National Institute of Allergies and Health.
National Institute of Allergies and Infectious Disease.
Okay. God, they had to change that name. He had signed off on a lot of the agreements for the Wuhan laboratory. And that was the whole substance of last week when...
Oh, so he did allegedly do some stuff and have alleged hands in it. Okay, that's interesting.
Rand Paul, Senator, I think, Senate.
Yeah, Senator Rand Paul.
To stop pleading the Fifth Amendment 111 times and state, oh, well, yeah, you've looked at my, and how they got it, I don't know, my diary and so on, where I keep flip-flopping. And, maybe it was the lab. Maybe I knew that. Maybe I should have been more cautious. Maybe why did he have all this power? There were questions then. Well, was COVID weaponized?
And that's really a lot of questions that we are asking. Was COVID allegedly weaponized? Why was all of this happening? What was all the connections to Fauci? And we still, to this day, don't know. We are just obviously given the news to what we are being reported by other news sources. Hey, this is what's being said. This is what we are going to report it as. We'll throw in some of our opinions that may or may not have some validation, but just our own reflection of our thoughts of this does seem a little bit weird, not coincidental that Fauci is allegedly involved with possible involvement with all of this. So Timmons doing a very good job at dancing around nicely, tippy-toeing, trying to play nicey nice with what is being said.
Was there gain-of-function research going on? And if so, there's a possible trickle-down or triggering of why are we...
Gee, Tim, you having trouble trying to figure out your words there, buddy? Come on, Tim.
Doing research.
Jeez.
In a communist country
with a communist country, you mean, Tim? Sheesh. Come on, Tim.
Lab in a communist country that is doing research of how to make a virus more virulent.
Yeah, Tim was not having a good night that night. That just, poor Tim, struggling with his words.
You get the idea, but...
No, we don't, Tim. We're not you. We're not in your brain. We don't know what you're thinking. You have to tell us what you're thinking in order for us to know what you're thinking there, buddy.
Fauci, I think, is really going to be called on the...
Maybe the COVID virus did kind of boggle Tim's mind a little bit and scramble his brain a little bit too much. Maybe. Who knows? That would be very bad. Tim, you might want to talk to Fauci about helping you a little bit.
The carpet to answer for a lot of things that he has not probably been able to before. Does that sound suspicious to you?
It does, but what was his reasoning? And if he was supposedly connected, maybe it wasn't just Fauci working alone. Could it be maybe Fauci was working, maybe the deep state was, and if anything went wrong, Fauci being pretty much the guinea pig, the one to be blamed for it.
That is all possibilities. Not saying that it's true or not, it's just being alleged as possibilities.
And you would take the fall. So we don't know any of this, but all we know is what's being purported by the news. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I found it. Our favorite AI, thanks to Google, said the Department of Health and Human Services transferred a copy of the...
And no, we're not talking about Tim being AI. We're talking about Google.
Dr. Anthony Fauci's COVID-era own government iPhone, and it was owned.
And if you guys remember a long time ago, if you guys have been watching me from my old channel to this channel, I talked about a long time ago about all of the possibilities of the connection to COVID and Fauci and China and alleged governments, and that all of this is not just suspicious, but could be coincidental, maybe something that our alleged government didn't want us to know about Fauci, that he was the guy that was doing alleged things that was possibly for whatever reason they had him do it for. Like maybe control, population control. Who knows? Again, these are all speculations.
Owned by the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. That's
good job, Tim. You finally got it right. You actually said the whole thing instead of trying to go for the abbreviation. Good job, Tim. Took you long enough to figure that out.
the owning agency. So this is, little happy AI bots dancing around the internet.
Oh, Tim, and I bet Shenanigans dancing around happily, right?
For date, August 20th.
Oh, God, I can hear her say, right, disc jockey boy, right. I don't know why she would say that to me, but I hear her saying that to me.
2026 is here. Receiving body, the Senate Homeland Security Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations. And it said also, God bless Google, sometimes related releases a company's...
It's funny that AI can do a lot. There are some good in AI. I'm not going to disagree with it. AI does have some good things to it, but it also can be very dangerous because sometimes when you're not paying attention, it tracks where you are and everything. It can just automatically flip your camera on when you don't think your camera is on and you're not paying attention. Like I said earlier, AI or your phones can do this. This is what our alleged government has the control to do to us. So this is why, again, I'm really against a lot of this. But the Socialist Democrats are okay with it. I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be getting too comfortable snuggling next to the AI.
Recent public disclosures of Fauci's personal journals and millions of pages of government server records obtained by congressional investigators. That was Wall Street Journal, and actually, and I don't think this is exclusive or anything. I can't tell. Doesn't look like it. No, but
now, Tim, how trustworthy is the Washington Journal? To me, I don't feel like the Washington Journal is much of a reliable source because we know sometimes they can allegedly lean left. But we're just doing reports. But just remember, be careful with where you get your information from.
that is so funny, and they're going to try to vote holding him on contempt tomorrow. I don't like
Yes, they
trust
did.
or feel comfortable with a guy. I mean, it's like we were talking about last night before the show. Here is, and I'm going to have the good taste, the good journalistic taste, not to say, oh, well, here's the
And that's so nice and kind of you, Tim, to have good journalistic taste and not saying things that you shouldn't be saying. At least once in your life, you're doing something correct.
other shoe that's going to drop, and that other shoe is naming the journalistic entity, which I'm not going to do. Okay, we're not going to let the other shoe drop out of limited journalistic courtesy. But somebody in the journalistic realm actually had, I think, and this makes me angry, the audacity to say, oh, well, as a scientist, he should be changing his mind whenever he wants. No, that's not the way a scientist thinks. A scientist comes up with an idea, a premise, and then works to either eliminate all the other ideas or to work towards a solution. Not this changing back and forth. I mean, this is not an episode of How with...
Oh, Tim, why do you just do movie reference? What if people haven't seen that TV show House? You're making a TV show reference that maybe some people have seen and some people haven't. Probably going to confuse some people. Just try to at least stay on point, Tim.
Cuddy playing nasty administrator.
But I do agree with Tim on this, though, that as a doctor, Fauci shouldn't have that ability to just go mind change. Yes, he's going to do what he has to do, but at the same time, in my opinion, if, let's just say, for good journalistic taste, in my opinion, I'm going to do kind of the same thing. If Fauci suspected something was allegedly wrong, let's just say that he knew that something was not right about this, then what he should have done was the right thing by doing whatever it was that needed to be done, whether it was report what was going on that was allegedly not correct or being done correctly, or something that was not needing to be done by whether it was our alleged government or by whoever was alleged to be involved in this, and should have reported it and said, no, I'm not going to follow orders if it's going to possibly hurt people. He should have done the right thing. Now, because Fauci did what he allegedly possibly did, it's too little too late now. If he was involved in any of this, it's now too late. Now he can't back out of it.
And his team playing a bunch of educated goofballs. No, this is a guy who supposedly knows what he's doing, and quite frankly, again, whoever the entity is who suggested that he is better scientist because he flip-flopped in his diaries, they just have no idea what they're doing. They really...
No, they don't. But he shouldn't have flip-flopped. Correct. But if Fauci, again, wants to suspect something was not correct, he should have done the right thing by turning those people in if they were doing something. But again, we know what happens. People can allegedly pay people to either be silenced or turn the other cheek and stay silent while turning the other cheek, not having to say anything. So maybe could that have possibly happened with alleged Fauci's involvement? Maybe. Because we all know money talks pretty big in this world. if you got a shit ton of dough, you basically can rule the world. You can control people. Because some people can be bought out, but not everyone. So maybe there is a chance Fauci could have allegedly been bought out.
And they know who they are, do that one, or somebody kissing up. I mean, it's almost as crazy as what's going on with late night TV, everybody running around scared in CBS, around 60 Minutes offices. Or the suggestion now that Jimmy Kimmel could be next. You know, it's just a lot of frustrating elements that are just dangling.
Well, and that is true. But here's something really interesting. Football Steelers player Aaron Rodgers criticized Anthony Fauci on the Pat McAfee show.
Which is true. That is very true. He did.
And the New York Times, 10 hours ago, posted...
No, I did make one boo-boo there. I read from an article that we can say leans a certain particular way left. And I'm not going to name the article because, again, good journalistic taste here. But I accidentally read from them and we had to edit it down because I wasn't supposed to. I thought that they were okay to read off of. So I did make one boo-boo.
An article saying that Fauci lawyers fire back. Aaron Rodriguez does not know what he's talking about. Well,
yeah. Past tense, but is that Aaron Rodgers or Aaron Rodriguez?
Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
And Aaron Rodgers was the guy that used to play for the Green Bay Packers. I think he was the quarterback, the QB for the Green Bay Packers, if I remember correctly.
Football player Aaron Rodgers.
I doubt if he has a
Here's something else too. The Guardian just also posted this. Asking Anthony Fauci for medical advice, they calling for him to be jailed. Katie Miller is the latest MAGA hypocrite from the Guardian one day ago. So it sounds like there's a lot of feedback from what is going on with the Fauci situation, and Aaron Rodgers seems to be one of the few public figures, I guess you could say, that...
Well, he is a public figure, so we wouldn't allege it or not say that he's not. He is. He is a public figure.
And is criticizing Fauci. So this makes me kind of wonder a lot of things.
Why? It makes me wonder why. I mean, he's a football player. What medical knowledge does he have?
Tim, you sound like you're sympathizing on the other side a little, buddy. Are you side switching here, Tim? You shouldn't be sympathizing on the other side, Tim. You should be on the conservative side because you are part of conservative news wave.
Or experience, there we go.
Well,
that's very interesting. Tim does sound a little sympathetic or empathetic towards Fauci.
Knowledge or experience?
Good question. But remember that back in 2019, or when COVID started, the government pushed for mandating masks. They pushed mandating COVID-19 shot. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, I believe that it was mandated for any football player or any sports of any sorts or any athlete, if they were to travel abroad, that they would have to have their what's called a COVID-19 passport showing proof that they have taken that.
And that is true. That actually was true. Because back like when the Biden administration really was pushing for these things, athletes, entertainers, musicians, even sports, football players, or wrestlers had to get a COVID-19 jab. And they had to have their little, yeah, even military required it. And they were required to do it. And if they didn't, then that would disqualify them, and they basically be probably more likely removed. It was sad that it happened that way. But this is all true.
All the Biden administration wanted people to be that they had their little shots, and
They're sheep. I was calling them sheeps.
I'm kind of thinking maybe that this
But Tim edited out because he doesn't like that I call people that do that sheeps. But in my opinion, they are sheeps.
outrage now is boiling because people are possibly starting to see not only that Fauci was presumably wrong in his assumption or even wrong in his ability to be connected to it and shouldn't have been connected to it at all. And Fauci maybe should have just been the bigger man and said, no, I'm not going to do this if he was allegedly involved. So I can see where people kind of are scrutinizing him.
Well,
And KY, you did bring up a good point. Why affect military enlistment? Why? Because yeah, it would affect at that time the military enlistment. Because if you didn't have that, then you would be disqualified from it. Later, people started figuring out that some of it wasn't really as bad as what it was sensationalized it to be. It was just like a common cold, but just a little bit worse than a common cold. So that is a good question of
I
why.
looked up and it said that Aaron Rodgers was his dad was a chiropractor, and he's big on holistic and alternative medicines. But see, I'm gonna go.
Tim, why are you? See, Tim, this is what I don't understand here. What does that matter? Okay, sure, that does matter a little, but not really. Because people can criticize, even if they're a public figure, what is going on in the world of politics and news. So you don't have to just have like a doctorate's degree and say, hey, doctors say that wearing hats make you bald. Well, I mean, you can criticize people wearing hats and say, hey, it's going to make you bald, or there is a possible potential baldness because of you wearing hats more than not. So, it's again, Tim, you sound like you're kind of sympathizing with these people, these lefties. That's not good. Or maybe Tim's just doing good cop, bad cop. Who knows?
To go the opposite side for a second. I don't know if I'm more angry with Fauci or the government or everyone else involved, but
Maybe both. Maybe all the above.
yeah, because here's the thing. I'm a beefy guy, okay? I'm let's just say a bit above average wage. And I have some...
You're huge.
Oh, thank you.
Now, Tim, that was not meant to be facetious in any way, shape, or form. You just kind of opened yourself up for that joke. That was Tim Fold.
Thank you, President Trump. And I have some,
You're welcome.
what do you call that? High blood pressure. I have a few
You have some medical issues.
Yeah, it's medical issues. But they waited till like late September.
Now, some of you might be asking, why did I cut Tim off and just say you have medical issues? Because Tim was kind of rambling and ranting about it a little bit too much for me. And I just wanted to make it short and sweet that, hey, Tim, all you had to say was, you have medical issues. That's all. You didn't have to go into like the long list of what you have. You could just say, you have medical issues. Keep it simple. And people would understand that. They would more than likely understand, okay, Tim's got some medical issues. No big deal. Maybe there's a reason why.
Early October, before I got my last shot last year, and the year before, and the year before that. I mean, I get the freedom aspect. I get that. But why is it?
But here's a question, Tim. Do you really understand the freedom aspect of it? Do you really understand that people were pissed off or angry because they were being forced to do it? You chose to do it, Tim. Just like I may have that same choice. Like I have a choice of whether or not I wanted to. Now, whether I did or didn't, that's up to me and my choice and my personal belief. Just like you have that choice, like everyone else has that choice. So it sounds like, Tim, you're kind of blasting people in a very subjective way, saying that they should do it anyway. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but that's kind of what I'm hearing a little bit of.
Is it being put into a specific time frame where you have to wait until either there's a herd immunity? Come on, give me a break. That doesn't. I'm not a scientist by no means, but you're not going to have enough people.
Of course, Tim, we know you're not a scientist. You're a damn journalist, a freelance journalist. We know that. We don't expect much from you other than journalism.
It's been demonstrated previously in the medical journals. You were not going to have enough people who got sick and then got well or whatever.
But also, Tim, do you understand that also when certain people did allegedly take that shot, it allegedly took their life? So again, there's kind of another issue that maybe you didn't understand. And that's where I kind of wanted to jump in with Tim and say, but Tim, do you know this? That there are journalists out there that have purported alleged deaths from COVID-19 jabs because of certain alleged things that were in there, which we know what was inside those jabs. What was in there was allegedly a little bit of live active COVID-19 symptoms in there, that it would give you some of the alleged smaller symptoms of COVID-19 so that your body would know what to fight when you got it. And your body would then understand, okay, this is what is bad. And right now I got to go and do what I can to keep my owner from having it. I don't know if Tim understood that, but I think he does. I'm sure he does.
Passed on that, not wellness, but passed on lesser versions of the disease. It just frustrates me. You've got, on one side, overreach of, let's close down all the businesses. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's go the 6-foot route. I see people in.
Tim, you're rambling and you're just complaining at this point. Why are you complaining? I get it. Yes, it's true. Nobody should have been shut down during that time. That was a bad idea, being shut down at that time. But you don't need to ramble about it.
They're vehicles. They're personal vehicles with nobody else there, and they're wearing a mask.
Okay, fair point, Tim. I'll give you that. Because honestly, you're right. wearing a blasted mask in the car when you're by yourself makes you look silly, in my opinion. My personal opinion, I think it just obviously shows that you're a sheep if you do that when you're in the car. But at the same time, people expected a very thin piece of paper mask to protect you from this, and it didn't do very well. So the government was wrong, the CDC was wrong for people wearing masks.
Mask sometimes is just like, or they're outside. It's like, come on. Same token
You know-
on the other side. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, the CDC, it's just like with me, like, I'm a cigar smoker. I smoke cigars.
Once in a while, by the way.
So you know how the CDC is going to claim cigar smokers have a higher chance than cigarette smokers to end up having cancer. Come on. Any person that smokes, dips, vapes, they know the risk. Just like
And they do. We know the risk. We know that there is risk involved in doing these things and partaking in these things. Just like there's risk for taking jabs from your doctor's office. There are risks involved in it. But at the same time, we know that sometimes those risks have to be taken possibly to help our immune system get better. But sometimes we know that the risks outweigh the reward for it. It's risky by chancing it, just like chancing getting that COVID-19 shot. That was risky. A lot of people risked it because they thought it would actually do better for them or help them try to fight it quicker. Some people did have the ability to fight it a little bit quicker with the jab. Some people didn't, because some people did allegedly pass away from the jab. Some people didn't. It's all risk. You got to weigh it out.
it's like we know that there's a risk for even having the measles shots. For anything that the CDC
That's true.
puts out there, there's
That's very
always
true.
risk. And
Yes.
sometimes there is not as high an amount of risk on certain things. So does that mean, well, we should all have cigars banned or cigarettes banned?
No. Just because there's a risk, it doesn't mean we should ban it. But sometimes our government wants to do it because they think that's in the best interest of we the people. But we know that we the people can make our own decisions and we can outweigh the risks and rewards for it. We know that, yes, cigar smoking, dipping, vaping, using tobacco, nicotine products are dangerous and do have a lot of risk involvement, but it doesn't mean that our government or CDC should start banning it because they want to try to prevent it. People can make their own decisions, and our government should leave it to us to make the decision of whether or not we want to do things or not do certain things. But if it's being mandated, then we need to know for 100% surety that it is going to work in our favor and not allegedly have side effects or alleged harmful effects behind it.
And or dip tobacco or vapes banned? No. We just know that, yes, people can make choices. People choose whether or not to wear masks. But the thing was that when they were mandating masks, jump into that topic, I'll bounce between those. You will know that the masks that people would wear were paper thin. It really didn't give much protection. So if you kind of think about it, it's like saying dipping is better than smoking cigars or smoking.
It's not. Dipping is not any safer alternative than smoking. It still has a risk involved. potential gum cancer, tooth loss, stomach ulcers or stomach cancers, tongue cancer, cigarettes, cigars, lung cancer. There's all of this in play.
Smoking cigars is better than cigarettes, or cigarettes is better than both of those options. We know that that's not really the truth. Just like them telling us wearing masks is a better option, people can still get sick. We didn't even know if it was an airborne immune disease or it was an autoimmune disease. We didn't know what kind of disease it was in the beginning.
That's true. We didn't. We did not know what it was. All we were told from the alleged media was that it came from alleged bats or wherever they were alleging it came from at the first time that it arose. So the media does have ways of sensationalizing things, making things worse than it sounds or what it really is. And that's why I tell people, don't always trust the media, because the media can allegedly lie to you and manipulate and make you gullible and believe in stuff that they want to tell you. Do your own research.
And until later, Trump found out a little bit about it from his people, and when his peeps told him, hey, Mr. President, this is what it's doing, this is the reaction we see from it, then they started to have that different reaction of trying to put out shots. And then later, the Democrats were like, okay, since the orange man is putting out shots, let's start making a rule now that everyone has to.
And when Trump started rolling out stuff, you notice that a lot of the Democrats were against what Trump was trying to do. So that's kind of where we were stuck with was, do we believe Trump or do we believe what the Democrats are telling us? And you heard a lot of the media at that time talking, saying Trump just was lucky enough to get the first jab, the first alleged jab, which was allegedly considered safe and not one like what we got, but a little bit different. And that's a little weird when people started allegedly dropping because of after getting those shots, they passed away. So there's something to be said and how weird it was.
Has to mask up and or give a shot, and they outrightly, blatantly did this to see who was complying, I believe.
Complicit. I meant to use the word complicit.
I believe
but
it was
complaint was a good one too.
About complaint.
And that was under the Biden era when that really kicked in.
Yeah.
That was true. I might have not said what I wanted to say correctly, but Tim knew where I was going with it. And it is true. What I said has factual truth to it. Because, I know people that took the jab and that have gotten sick because of it. And I knew people that took the jab and were okay with it.
And this is what I saw of this. I saw this because I'm sitting here smoking a cigar in the studio listening to you talking about this, and I'm thinking to myself,
and I was sitting there smoking it.
That the government really started trying to infringe into people's rights, but let's be journalistically.
That is actually a point that I do want to clarify when I'm saying infringe in people's rights because of those things. What I'm saying is that they were trying to allegedly push it and force people to do and comply with these rules, which constitutionally we don't have to comply with the government because we don't work for the government. The government works for us, we the people. We pay their taxes. We pay our tax dollars for them to do what they need to do for us. And that's why I always will use that saying, we the people should not fear the government, that the government should fear us, we the people, because we can vote them in and we can vote them out. They shouldn't be against us. They should be for us. Pushing mandates like that shows that they're allegedly against us and that it possibly, potentially was done for what was called possible population control, or seeing who was compliant or complicit with doing these things.
Linguistic about it, they thought that they were doing something right, which we understand, but do you always agree that the government is doing what is best for we the people? No, I don't always agree that the CDC, the people that are like Fauci, having the best interest for us.
And I don't, and I never will believe that a lot of the government has the best interest for us, because I don't feel like the government has the best interest for us. Do I feel like Trump may have the best interest for us? Sometimes I do feel like he does. Sometimes I kind of do question Trump's motive, because they seem a little bit different or questionable. But I still do question a lot, because it's okay to question your government and say, I feel like our government may have some potential to have the best interest for us, but in certain times, but in other times there might not be the best interest. It's just about what they want to do and how they can do it, or try to allegedly impose certain things on us to see how far they can get away with things.
It's only about not really being forced to capitalism, but it's not really about that. But for this,
It's like I said, it's not all about capitalism. It's about, but it's about how big techs can make money off of us by by our alleged government imposing certain things on us, so that the big tech companies like the CDC, the FDA, can get rich quick by doing whatever they can do to make that money. So it's not good, but it's not bad. I mean, it can be bad if the CDC and the FDA are not doing it for the right reason. And that's again where we should question, is this the right reason? If they're putting things out there, or the FDA or the CDC are saying things, why are they saying it? That's where we should question it first and foremost. Why are they putting it out there? Okay, once we find the reason why they're putting this stuff out here, then now let's find out how much factual information is correct about what they're saying, and what they're saying, is it really truth, or is it allegedly just something that they're putting out there because it's fear mongering, or it really does have some merit into the conversation. So those are things that people really should think about more than not.
for them, it's about
But it wasn't me trying to be anti-capitalistic. I am a capitalist through and through, and I will always be a capitalist through and through. But I just don't trust all the time the CDC and FDA, because they are big techs that should be questioned quite frequently, but aren't, because people are kind of scared of them, because they're afraid that, oh, they might get some clap back. Well, okay, yeah, sure, they're going to clap back a little bit, or might have to do damage control, but that's okay.
the American people, but everywhere. And when it broke out, China got hit way worse because that was where it was alleged it came from bats or wherever.
And it did. It really hit China worse. If you guys remember, when COVID first started, it hit hard right at China because, again, that's where it allegedly came from, China. So China did take a lot of damage. A lot of other countries took a lot of damage because of it. And then it came to us. And then we had a lot of issues with it.
And there was no best interest, and they started trying to push it more and more and more, just like the FDA pushes, well, you shouldn't smoke because you're going to have lung cancer, or you might end up pushing it on a pregnant woman, and the baby might end up having it. Give me a break, people. We know that these things happen, but if people are afraid, then not rubble.
People are afraid. It's fear mongering. That's all it really is. It's fear mongering because they want to make us fear things that may not be the worst case scenario.
The Orange Man is putting out shots. Let's start making a rule now that everyone has to mask up and or give a shot.
It's called that is condemning heads of lettuce to not being eaten and
Oh, hold on.
Complained.
and that was under the Biden era when that really kicked in.
Yeah, and this is what I saw of this. I saw this because I'm sitting here smoking a cigar in the studio listening to you talking about this,
And I was actually having a cigar here and listening to Tim talking about this. It made me think of what really, when we were kids, we would always have days where this the dare tiger or dare line, whatever, dare to do drugs, the anti-drug task force would come in and talk about how bad drugs and stuff were and to stay away from it. Yeah, we know drugs is bad, but what they pushed more of was how, like, actual drugs, but they didn't talk about like caffeine. They didn't talk about nicotine or tobacco as it being an actual legal drug. So there's a difference between illegal drugs and legal drugs that are legal, like caffeine, nicotine, tobacco, and stuff like that, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of those things were pushed by fear. And I think that's a lot of what our government does the most. It loves to push fear. And it shouldn't. They shouldn't, but they do.
and I'm thinking to myself, those were the days that the government really started trying to infringe into people's rights.
And they did. In my opinion, I felt like they did. It was a big infringement.
Let's be journalistically linguistic about it. They thought,
oh, geez. Great, conservative. You're using big boy words again. Great.
that they were doing something right, which we understand, but do you always agree that the government is doing what is best for we the people?
No.
I don't always agree
No.
that the CDC, the people that are like Fauci having the best interest for us. It's only about not really being forced to capitalism, but it's not really about that. But for them, it's about how they can make money off of the expense of the people and what can they use to make it look like, oh, well, gee whiz, this just automatically happened. What a surprise.
And that's exactly what happened. Oh, this COVID just happened. What a big surprise. What they do? Like that, some people actually didn't find it very surprising. I kind of was surprised a little bit in the beginning, but after a while I did more research and started to realize, okay, this is just not coincidental. This is not an alleged accident. There was a reason this became the way it was. Because our alleged government
Now we got
was allegedly involved.
to start worrying about not just the American people, but everywhere. And when it broke out, China got hit way worse because that was where it was alleged it came from bats or wherever. And there was no best interest. And they started trying to push it more and more and more, just like the FDA pushes, well, you shouldn't smoke because you're going to have lung cancer, or you might end up pushing it on a pregnant woman and the baby might end up having it. I mean, give me a break, people. We know that these things happen, but if people are afraid, then normal, common sense human beings, senses would normally tell you, don't go outside if you're that afraid. And people sometimes wouldn't, but then people might not have a choice, so they masked up trying to see how many people they could get to comply. It's all about being complicit with their demands, and that's what I saw out of it.
And, you know, the other thing that really irks me about it is the other side of the regulatory issues is, like, for example, when Robert F. Kennedy Jr. dropped some of the, and I think this was motivated by Doge, some of the FDA, what they call food net. And now we've got Clarisportia, or whatever the heck it's called, that is condemning heads of lettuce.
There was an outbreak in lettuce, which I kind of not really surprised again of all of this happening to us.
To not being eaten, and I'm just still wondering how much mismanagement is there going on. I mean, what Kennedy was saying is there wasn't that much fall off from the efficiency of the.
Sounds like you're again kind of being a little empathizing on the other side there, Tim.
Motivated staffing cuts wasn't that much, but it was noticeable. But now we've got workers from companies that shall not be named, and they may be more than one or more company.
And it's crazy because you were talking about germs and stuff. Yahoo reported the same thing. Yahoo reports that RFK Jr. allegedly told Theo Vaughn that he used to
and it's bleeped out for a reason because of safety and trying to keep our show clean. But I will say what was being alleged. So RFK Jr. allegedly told Theo Vaughn that he used to snort an alleged certain or do a alleged certain substance off of a toilet bowl. Let's just leave it that way. I'll be a little gracious. I'll dance around it journalistically. That's what I was saying, but we bleeped it out. But again, we bleep it out because, again, we got to keep it clean. But this is what was being allegedly reported by certain news groups that RFK Jr. had allegedly said on the Theo Vaughn show. But I think RFK Jr., if I remember correctly, I think he may have actually openly admitted to it, but I'm not sure. So that's why I'm saying allegedly being reported.
Yes, we are going to have fun editing this, especially you. Yes, you're talking about germs. That kind of begs the question of, should we really be afraid of something like germs or COVID-19 then?
There's a bigger difference between something that can be really bad and just small germs. COVID wasn't just germs. It was a little more than that. There was a little bit more to it.
Then,
Well,
COVID-19 and germs were not the same.
I'll say this: it was a pain in the neck, and not just the neck, literally, but figuratively for me, having it twice. Though I didn't really feel, except for like one day any congestion or really any sore throat. It was just a headache, and I felt like yucky.
Nice on the doing it more, saying that more than once. I had it twice. I think I had it twice too, and I felt like crap. I felt weak. I didn't want to get up. I kept sleeping every day. I barely dipped, and I was still dipping at that time. And I was just not feeling good. Like my body felt like I was aching. My stomach was just nauseated. I didn't, I was not feeling very good. Now, the results or the effects may be different to different people, depending on if you have a strong immune system or a weak immune system, or whether you're like a toddler or a senior citizen who probably doesn't have the best immune system. It's going to hit harder and it's going to affect you more differently. But it really knocked me for a loop, and I was not happy. I was not a happy camper. I was pissed when I got it.
I mean, imagine, here's what gets me. If this was a weaponized disease that was...
If it was an alleged weaponized disease, you should have said that, Tim, because you don't want to make people think that it actually was when we don't know whether it was or wasn't.
Was created, and we're just playing the magic what if game, okay, for making troops from militaries around the world subpar. Number one, here's the ethical issue. Why are we getting involved in such a not just potentially deadly, but a trickle sideways weapon? That is, when I say trickle sideways, other people who may be civilians or not connected to the military or their families or whatever can be affected by this. No, that's obviously no.
Because again, Tim, this is the thing, was that it was possible being done for population control. It was being done possibly for alleged weaponization of that virus. So it is possible, because maybe there was parts that the government was allegedly involved with to make it allegedly that way, or potentially seem like that. But people that kept believing in what the media would tell them would think, no, this is not possible. Why would the government if the alleged government was involved in it, or the alleged government was doing this, why would they do it? Again, possible control, manipulation, cooperation, complicit, compliance. They were all possibilities right there that were just sitting right in front of us under our nose, and people didn't want to question it. They were just all willing to jump and be compliant with the government and what the government said about it, and not do deep research about it. But at the same time, in the beginning, there wasn't much research done about it until later. And that's when a lot of theories and speculations about it came out.
Likely in a war zone, but still you can have that impact, civilian populations and so on, and that's a big problematic issue. I just, if you can't initially trust your government to be clean ethically about how the business...
I wouldn't say clean, maybe transparent would be a better word. I think the government should have allegedly been a little bit more transparent with us about it. But again, what do we expect? What do we expect from people? And especially the Democrats. Or any side. we know that sometimes our government is not going to be very transparent about things with us, because it's not in their best interest to allegedly, sometimes not only maybe allegedly not in their best interest to do it, but they probably don't want to be too transparent because they don't want people to start having a lot of fear or pushing things out there that could potentially be completely wrong about it later, and then the government having to correct people about it. So there is so many possibilities of why our government may not have allegedly been transparent.
This mayhem that's sanctioned through war is conducted. If that doesn't sound insane, I don't know what does. But if you can't trust them to apply rational cause and effect action on the horrible thing called war, how can you trust them to do research that they shouldn't be doing? And quite frankly, there was an allegation that this is one we can say. There was an allegation that there was some thing inside Kennedy's brain, and I'm being very vague to get around that. You gotta be careful.
Yeah, I did hear about that. So yeah,
There was a lot of alleged allegations that RFK Jr. allegedly had some sort of possible potential parasite in his brain, or some kind of worm that was an alleged parasite. We don't know. Now, that again, we don't know if that's true or not. And that's why we say alleged. We don't know if that's true or not. But we had to be very careful and dance around it.
to codify anti-fraud measures and avoid a president like El Said undoing task force effort. And then also in the Daily Beast, Vance allegedly fat shames MAGA ally in Bunker's meltdown.
What is that?
Well, I guess apparently, let me look. JD Vance couldn't help but call a alleged top conservative ally fat as he inserted himself into a MAGA debate about burritos.
Now, I don't know why JD Vance would do that, or if that is allegedly true if he did that. But if JD Vance did do that, why? That doesn't make him look very good if he did allegedly do that. I think that's something definitely Vance should have not done if he did allegedly do it. I mean, come on. Vance has better things to argue about than worrying about burrito arguments or food, arguing about food in itself. So I don't know, again, if Vance really did do it, but if he did, why? That just, to me, is ridiculous.
Burritos.
So that's very interesting that our vice president is getting a little, pardon the pun, wrapped up on burritos.
Well, you know what's going on in a couple of years.
And I basically opened a joke right there for Tim to try to do another joke on top of my joke, but he didn't do it. Sad that Tim didn't see that. I was hoping he did. I'm sure he did see it, and he recognized that, yeah, hey, I'm giving you a free shot here to poke again, make fun, make another joke. But he didn't do it, sadly. And he should have, I thought. Shame on you, Tim, for not making a joke.
Years, we're having an election in 2028. Trump can't run again unless you jiggle around the 14th Amendment. So,
Which will not happen. And liberals, not just liberal, but Democratic progressives are really talking about this because they are thinking that Trump's going to do it. let's be perfectly clear. Honestly, I don't think it's going to happen. You would have to literally go through the House of Representatives, the Congress, and then I think the Supreme Court in order to appeal the 14th Amendment, which would have to go by, I think, a majority of votes. And knowing the Democrats and liberals and progressive, more than likely they're going to vote no. But that would be okay. But here's the kicker. Why I think it would be a good thing if they did try to do it, or if he did try to do it and they voted no for it, because then that would mean they wouldn't be able to have a president if one of their people gets elected, wouldn't be able to run 4 times. It would only be a 2-time. You run twice, you're done. That's it. So they would kind of basically be saving us from their issue of dealing with them twice or 4 times more than what we want to deal with them. So honestly, I think that would be one smart move they would do. Now, do I think that they would do it thinking that they couldn't capitalize off of it? No, I'm sure they're probably realizing that they could capitalize off of it, but more than likely they would vote no because it would just stop Trump. That would be the only reason why they would more than likely want to vote no for it, just to make sure that Trump doesn't get that one more time term, which, yeah, it would suck if he didn't get it, but if they do it, then it wouldn't just be, okay, Trump can do it. It would then start over to where now every single person that runs for president can go 4 terms. And then that means we can have possibly Biden come back. We can have Obama come back. Oh, Lord. We probably could have Bill Clinton come back. We could have Kamala come back. It would just be a catastrophe. But they would only, again, not only trying to say no because of Trump, but if any Republican were to win, like Vance, that would be bad for them. But it would be good for us, bad for them.
He's going to have to really begin to integrating Vance into, unless he wants to have him and Rubio fight it out, into the political arena.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want Mark Rubio to win. I would definitely want Vance to maybe win. If we could get Vance to win, that would be a good thing for us. But I don't know really how focused Trump is on that right now. I don't think that's really Trump's number one priority. But I'm sure Trump is realizing it. He's knowing about it. And it's probably on the back burner until the time comes close to the 2028 election.
Yeah, a year or year and a half at the outside, they've got to do something.
It is very interesting because Fox News reports J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller advocating reforms at Anti-Fraud Task Force Roundtable event. So it seems like this whole conversation about anti-fraud is really picking up. And now my biggest question for all of our listeners is because of the reasons of Trump believing at one point or another that he was being alleged to have been robbed of his election, that they are a lot of Democratic left-leaning anti-fraud or not believing that there was any alleged fraudulent activity that happened.
And yes, I kind of am dancing around it in a long fashion way, but I'm trying to do it because I want to make sure people understand where I'm going with it, but also at the same time, for the legality purposes, trying to be smart about it.
And do you think that it may or may not have happened? That would be a good question to ask our listeners.
Well, here's the other thing that I think is important, and this
Sure.
is kind of a, what you'd call the Department of Justice, if I recall, and this was on,
The DOJ.
we pulled this
Yes, DOJ.
citation from conservativenewsweb.com. Oh, here we go. U.S. judge grants DOJ request to dismiss January 6 cases against Oath Keepers, and that was from Reuters. So, with one of the biggest indicators.
Hold on. Oh my god, my phone is just being stupid. There's a lot definitely to take into consideration in this conversation.
That impact civilian populations and so on, and that's a big problematic issue. I just, if you can't initially trust your government to be clean ethically about how the business of mayhem that's sanctioned through war is conducted, if that doesn't sound insane, I don't know what does. But if you can't trust them to apply rational cause and effect action on the horrible thing called war, how can you trust them to do research that they shouldn't be doing? And quite frankly, there was an allegation that this is one we can say. There was an allegation that there was some thing inside Kennedy's brain, and I'm being very vague to get around that. You got to be careful.
Yeah, I did hear about that. So yeah, that's crazy.
Oh yeah, it was.
I've heard a lot of allegations about that. I don't know how much of it's actually honestly true, like I said, but I didn't want to go into the conversation into that because that would have taken a lot longer. But this 35-minute show definitely has a lot of things that we were talking about, and it definitely opens up a lot of different conversations. Whether you agree with us or you disagree with us, it kind of makes you think a little bit about, God, could this be true? Could it be possible? And how much of this could be true or possible, or not true or possible?
Some dead whatever. I wonder if he was munching lettuce before that happened.
I don't know. But in other news,
Tim, come on now. That's not nice, Tim.
J.D. Vance pushes from the New York Post lawmakers to codify anti-fraud measures and avoid a president like El Said undoing task force effort. And then also in the Daily Beast, Vance allegedly fat shames MAGA ally in Bunker's meltdown.
What does that mean?
Well, I guess apparently, look, J.D. Vance couldn't help but call a alleged top conservative ally fat as he inserted himself into a MAGA debate about burritos.
Burritos.
So that's very interesting that our vice president is getting a little, pardon the pun, wrapped up on burritos.
Well, you know what's going on in a couple of years. We're having an election in 2028. Trump can't run again unless you jiggle around the 14th Amendment. So he's going to have to really begin to integrating Vance into, unless he wants to have him and Rubio fight it out, into the political arena.
Yeah, that could be.
You have a year or year and a half at the outside. They've got to do something.
And it's very interesting because Fox News reports J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller advocate reforms at anti-fraud task force roundtable event. So it seems like this whole conversation about anti-fraud is really picking up. And now my biggest question for all of our listeners is, because of the reasons of Trump believing at one point or another that he was being alleged to have been robbed of his election, that they are a lot of Democratic left-leaning anti-fraud or not believing that there was any alleged fraudulent activity that happened. Do you think that it may or may not have happened? That would be a good question to ask our listeners.
Well, here's the other thing that I think is important, and this is kind of what you call the Department of Justice, if I recall, and this was on
The DOJ.
We pulled the citation from conservativenewswave.com. Oh, here we go. U.S. judge grants DOJ request to dismiss January 6 cases against Oath Keepers, and that was from Reuters. So, with one of the biggest indicators that's like a second or third level of, yes, something happened that caused that much discontent, these guys and gals are let off. I think it's kind of surprising because, again, like you were talking about earlier with Fauci, there's a lot of these secondary things that are going on that will point back to the central issue. And same thing with when we started the show with China, or as you would say, China, they're not directly pointing fingers, but they're pointing fingers at other fingers.
Yeah.
Exactly what is going on. Because a lot of talk is, why are some of the J6ers allegedly pardoned? If they were allegedly found guilty of a crime, why were they not only pardoned, but why didn't supposedly Trump look into, were those alleged J6ers actually really Trump supporters, or were those J6ers allegedly just people that were alleged paid actors to be there? And then they just did the save face to thank Trump.
Yeah, I kind of wondered about that. That seems to be correct in the standpoint.
Well, do you want to go ahead and we'll wrap up the show and see when this comes down, and we'll start playing with it later tonight and so on. And we're going to put this up at conservativenewswave.com, and we're also going to start putting it up through Acast and getting back. I don't know if we're going to have 24 outlets, but we're going to have more than, boy, I sound like Trump now. We're going to have more than maybe last time, but
we're going to have more outlets than China's votes against Biden. It's going to be great. It's going to be huge. And we want to thank you all for listening and for me being the greatest president of all time.
Oh, great. Not conservative video dipper doing his Trump impression. Great. Yeah, we had to add that one in there.
And JD, you really are a great burrito eater. I have seen it. It is fantastic. It's sensational.
Great burrito eater. Yikes. Oh, my gosh. Oh, yeah, that kind of was a little controversial. I'm not going to lie. I think that was pretty controversial to say that one. But it was funny. Oh, that was good.
It was huge. And thank you all for listening. And remember, God bless America. God bless our troops. And we'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Honestly, I think our show did very good. I think we did good. Honestly, Tim was nervous. Kind of did sound like a record, or like he was recorded. Somebody mentioned that in the comments in here. But I think it was really good. I think we did absolutely a great job. And as always, it was fun coming back and doing this. I had a great time. I enjoyed it. There's a lot more different conversations. We're not just going to only talk about Fauci and what's going on like that, but there's a lot of different things that we're going to be talking about each time that we're on the show. So go to conservativenewswave.com. Go check us out there. Go check out my Rumble, Conservative Video Dipper. Go check out my Twitter, Conservative Video Dipper. Go check out my TikTok, Conservative Video Dipper. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe on here. You guys have been awesome. And thank you to all of you out there for putting us on the Google AI overview, and we appreciate it. We'd like to give not only a quick shout out to our 7 platforms that we're on, but to the boys and girls in Arlington. Hi, boys and girls. To our president, our vice president, and secretary of state, and every single one of the people out there that are watching us. We thank you, and we will see you soon. Have a good one, y'all.